You can listen to The Front on your smart speaker every morning. To hear the latest episode, just say, play the news from The Australian.
From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Wednesday, August 21. Aged care providers who neglect elderly residents won't be slapped with criminal penalties. That's the promise made by Labor to the opposition. It's a major concession by the government to get its giant aged care reform bill through Parliament. The government is dumping one of its big ideas to control migration numbers. Caps on international student numbers will be canned. Education Minister Jason Clare says it was a mistake and the restrictions were throttling universities. Those stories are live right now at theaustralian.com.au. Gun reform, abortion, and turning Donald Trump's catchphrases against him. That's the Democratic battle plan to win over America's women, revealed at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Today, how Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden teamed up to present Kamala Harris as presidential. In 3 chants, the rapturous crowd at the Democratic National Convention summed up where American politics is at right now. Thank you, Joe. Keep going. And lock him up. That's a play on a slogan that did great business for Donald Trump in the 2016 election campaign. Back then, the target was the Democrats' candidate, Hillary Clinton. It worked for Trump, who narrowly defeated Clinton, a woman regarded by many Americans as the embodiment of what they didn't like about the progressive establishment. And in Chicago on Tuesday, Clinton, although she is no longer the candidate, sought to portray Trump as the one who's been corrupted by power.
Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. Kamala cares about kids and families, cares about America. Donald only cares about himself. On her first day in court, Kamala said 5 words that still guide her. Kamala Harris, for the people. That is something that Donald Trump will never understand. So it is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record. He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now.
But the main act on day one of the DNC was not Kamala Harris.
I stand before you now on this August night to report that democracy has prevailed.
Joe Biden started strong, but then he seemed to flag as the night went on.
You know, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. The United States Supreme Court majority wrote the following, quote, women are not without electoral or political power. No kidding.
Did he talk for too long?
I think Joe Biden, he wanted to really defend his presidency, a strident defence of his presidency.
Cameron Stewart is The Australian's chief international correspondent.
And I think the reason why, Claire, is because this was really, in a way, his farewell to America. Even though he's still got 5 months to go in his presidency, it's the last big primetime speech in the spotlight. And I think in front of the Democrat faithful, all the delegates who would have voted for him just a month ago, I think that Biden wanted to put his stamp on the speech and effectively have it as a marker for history for his own legacy.
Biden's speech, instead of attempting to win over the working men who are intrigued by Trump, zeroed in on women.
MAGA Republicans found out the power of women in 2022, and Donald Trump is going to find out the power of women in 2024.
From gun laws.
More children in America are killed by a gunshot than any other cause in the United States. My God. That's why Kamala and I are proud. We beat the NRA when we passed the first major bipartisan gun safety law in 30 years. And now it's time to ban assault weapons again and demand universal background checks.
To reproductive rights.
And here's what else I believe in. Protecting your freedom to vote, your freedom to love who you love, and your freedom to choose.
And his record on appointing women to positions of power.
I'm proud to have kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman in the United States Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson, a symbol for every young woman in America that you can do anything.
And Biden turned the crowd's favourite chant back on the woman he's endorsing.
Thank you, Kamala.
There were two references to Joe Biden's decision to step aside from the 2024 race. From his wife, Jill.
Those moments when I'm reminded of all he's accomplished in the name of something bigger than himself. And weeks ago, when I saw him dig deep into his soul and decide to no longer seek re-election and endorse Kamala Harris.
And Biden himself.
Folks, I've got 5 months left in my presidency. I've got a lot to do. I intend to get it done. It's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as your president. I love the job, but I love my country more. And all this talk about how I'm angry at all those people who said I should step down, that's not true.
Cam, Joe Biden really left it until the 11th hour to withdraw from the race, and that meant Kamala Harris was really the only option for the Democrats. There were tears and love from the faithful at the DNC, but how do you think Democrats are actually going to regard Biden if Kamala Harris can't win this election?
Well, his legacy is very much tied to her success as a result, I think, because if she does get beaten by Donald Trump, a lot of people will blame Biden for effectively dealing her a very bad hand of cards by leaving it so late to withdraw from the race, giving her just literally 100 days to beat an established contender in Donald Trump. So really, in a way, Joe Biden's legacy is not just what he's done as president, it's definitely tied to the result because of the unusual and bizarre circumstances in which Kamala Harris has taken over.
Coming up, what Kamala Harris herself said at the Democratic National Convention. We'll be back after this break.
Good evening, everyone.
Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance on day one of the Democratic National Convention, and she exuded her own particular brand of ebullience.
We are moving forward with optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember when we fight, we win.
Donald Trump has enjoyed making fun of Harris. The Democrats are leaning in to the memes and jokes about her particular style of twinkly emotion. Trump would say she's embarrassing. The Democrats would pitch her, as social media does, as that auntie who gets giddy after a couple of wines.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, "I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?"
The internet pounced on that speech made by Harris in early 2023, remixing and referencing it within an inch of its life. Then came Brat Summer, when British singer Charli XCX declared Kamala embodied the spirit of her album Brat, basically a hot mess. On TikTok and Instagram, it turned into a giant mashup.
I'm just living that life.
Everything is in context.
Basement that you
My mother
Kamala Harris seems to be leaning into all the things that Donald Trump mocks about her. The laugh, her turns of phrase, her big kind of warm personality. She seemed to me ultra confident. What did you think watching her from the convention floor?
Look, I think she's very confident at the moment because, possibly to her surprise, the polls are really going her way. She certainly started out only a month ago, remember, well behind as far as what people thought her chances were. She then drew level. Now she's inching ahead. And she's inching ahead, Claire, in the key battleground states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, the ones that will win the election for either candidate. And so I think she is very confident at the moment because Trump has struggled to actually target her, to characterise her, and he's a bit all over the shop, which is very unusual for Trump because he's usually very good at doing that. I don't think he quite knows how to handle her rise and the attention that she's getting. And look, the great question is how long this will last. But the bottom line is that at the moment, she's on the ascendancy in all the polls. And far more than that, we all know that these conventions are complete love fests. And so 4 days of a love fest for Kamala with all the Democrat royalty singing her praises will not hurt her. It'll definitely turbocharge her campaign, at least for the next couple of weeks.
Cameron Stewart is the Australian's chief international correspondent. Thanks for joining us on The Front. Subscribers to The Australian get the best coverage of the US election and everything else, of course. Check us out at theaustralian.com.au.